Tamatea Dusky Sound is a beautiful, remote part of New Zealand and the site of many pioneering interactions by Europeans. Home now to wildlife and occasional tourists, a team from Toitū Otago Settlers Museum and Heritage New Zealand, with the help of local tour operator Fiordland Expeditions, sets out on a mission of rediscovery. The aim is to see what remains from that historic era and share these remarkable stories of what was, for both Maori and European, the furthest frontier. Cruises to the Fiordland Sounds bring thousands of visitors to this magnificent historic area every year. But the huge ships that service this modern lucrative trade are not the first vessels to bring sightseers to this remote and forbidding landscape. The Dunedin Union Steamship Company pioneered such voyages over 140 years ago. Between 1876 and 1910, they ran regular summer excursions into the Fiordland Sounds, using the cruise liners of the day and attracting visitors from all over the world. But the Fiordland cruises came to a sudden and dramatic stop on the 4th of January 1910 when the steamship Waikare, a top-of-the-line Union ship, cruising up the Sound between Indian Island and the Passage Islets, hit an uncharted pinnacle rock. Well, that's the official position. There's some doubts by modern mariners about whether that's where it actually was. That rock has never been found, and the ship had made that passage at least a dozen times before. Nonetheless, the ship was turning for home after a miserable few days in the Sounds when rain and fog, terrible weather obscured all the magnificent scenery. But this day was an absolute stunner. So all 141 passengers were up on deck, taking in the views and relishing their proximity to Cook's famous stopover point from 1773. It was a Titanic-like moment as the ship hit the concealed rock, lifted up. The grinding sound as it bumped along, tearing a gash amidships, could be heard by everyone, and the ship immediately began to list. But what followed was a textbook example. Calm direction from the captain, efficient professionalism from the crew, and all the passengers played their part too, followed instructions, and within 10 minutes they were all in the lifeboats and away. The captain and the men in the engine room kept up steam and pushed the boat forward and ran it aground on a shelf of rock just here at Stop Island behind me. Everybody then pitched in, unloading provisions and gear off the boat, making a clearing in the bush and setting up a camp where they would wait to be rescued. The nearest place with telegraph communication was the lighthouse at Puisaga Point, an open sea trip of nearly 60 kilometres. A small motorboat with several crew was dispatched there to raise the alarm and request rescue. In fact, reading the extensive accounts in contemporary news reports, it all sounds like one of the jolliest shipwrecks imaginable. No lives were lost, nor even any serious injuries sustained. The crew and passengers seem to have enjoyed a picnic atmosphere on the island and were rescued by a ship coming from Bluff within a day. The Waikare itself was a total loss. Within a short time, it slipped off the shallow beach and into deep water. The wreck is there still. Its loss proved the end for the Union Company's Fiordland cruises, at least temporarily. It would be over 20 years before the next cruise ship ventured into Dusky Sound. The Waikare now lies in over 30 metres of water. but it's a popular diving spot for visitors to Tamatea Dusky Sound. However, 110 years on from the wreck, little is known about the site and no archaeological survey has been completed. As one of New Zealand's largest and remotest shipwrecks, Maritime archaeologists Bennett and Matt Carter prepare to dive the site off Stop Island with the aim of creating a better understanding of the ageing Waikare.
There's so few maritime archaeologists about. This is the first time it's ever been professionally dived by maritime archaeologists. So to get that baseline understanding for a start is really important. The Waikare is actually listed on the Archaeological Association of New Zealand database. So there's a record which has just a brief description of it, but that was actually just written from a history book. No one's ever dived it before as a maritime archaeologist. So we can bring our professional attributes to it and describe it in a lot more detail than what's already there. The whole idea was just do a bit of a dive, take some video and some still photos, just to get a bit of an idea of what condition it's in. But it's not till you're actually down there on the seabed that you really understand how big the ship was.
No sign of the supposed gash hole from the uncharted rock is identified. And when compared with pictures taken by divers relatively recently, the archaeologists believe the large vessel is steadily breaking down.
I was actually expecting to be more intact on the sea floor, but dropping down on it, there's a lot that the structures collapse in on itself, and so you just get this like mangling of like steel or like iron ship structure all sandwiched together, sticking up. So you've got to watch where you're going too. There's a little bit of a swell coming in, pushing you backwards and forwards, so just again watching where you were with the structure, not to bump into it. But otherwise, no, beautiful, like it was up to 20 metres viz, blue, a lot of marine life. Oh, it's really great. And like my background as well, it's like with timber shipwrecks, so they're a lot smaller. So yeah, for me it was, whoa, okay, this is sort of 10 times the scale I'm used to working with. I was really overwhelmed by what I saw. It was massive. Like we got to one of the boilers and I was just completely blown away. We had Matt there sort of for scale, and yeah, put it when he was side by side, you know, it's like, whoa, that is big. Like that would need a lot of people stoking the coal full time to keep that running.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Just really clear water, lots of marine life, and you can make out some of the heavy machinery and stuff like that. It is broken up, as you'd expect from an iron ship from all these years, but it is a really fantastic dive.
While the data gathered from their dives suggests the Waikare is degrading, the information can be used as a future reference for other archaeological examinations or a comprehensive survey.
If you protect these sites, you give them people a bit of an awareness about that history, and I'm all for people diving on these sites and getting a feel for the history, but just doing it respectfully so other people can enjoy it into the future.
The Waikare is perhaps the last large-scale historic drama from this historic theatre of Dusky Sound. But will it be the last? A huge effort by the Department of Conservation and Heritage New Zealand, along with partners with a vested interest, are doing their best to maintain the historic spots in this important part of the country.
Yeah, well that's the thing, that's really, I guess, the ambitious side of this, is actually getting out and doing it, and that's what sets this museum apart from some of these other museums where they're actually going out there and capturing the history, not waiting for it to come to them.
The future may be unknown, as indeed is much of the past around these areas, but the historic significance of this region should not be lost on us. Since as New Zealanders, this truly was our furthest frontier. Bye.